remember Reg.
Yeah.
Yes. I met Reg Hollis.
Did you?
Yeah. He came into my photography class one time.
Really?
So he used to go there.
Did you snap a pic?
No. This was the days before mobile telephones.
Oh.
Or at least ones with cameras, anyway. Welcome, everyone, to this week's episodes of the No, I said that wrong. Sorry. Welcome, everyone, to this week's episode of the Lads Film Thing podcast, where four friends discuss a film and mostly always have a good time. And be warned, there will be spoilers for this film. So this week we have Lucy.
Hello.
Abby.
Hi.
This is me, Dan, and Sam.
Hello.
I always get that wrong. And Sam. He's our favourite. There's no favourites. Okay, so this week we have been watching Sardar Udham, the 2021 Indian Hindi-Punjabi-English language biographical historical drama about the life of Udham Singh, directed by Shujit Sarkar.
It's fair to say this has been recommended to us by a fair few people on YouTube.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But none more than Diogiri Yadav. Apologies if I'm not saying your name correctly there, but honestly, you have recommended that like 10 times for us to watch. So
we're doing it for
It's
you.
worth.
It's finally time.
Thank you very much. Cool.
So I'll just do a very quick overview of the plot. The film details Sadar Udham's journey, his experiences in the 1919 Jallianwala Bagh massacre, his eventual journey to London in the 1930s, leading to the revolutionary assassination of Michael O'Dwyer in 1940. It kind of covers everyone he's met on the journey, his motivations, and the consequences.
Really good.
Should we put out a little apology now for anyone we might offend or get wrong or misquote or misunderstand? Because we were really up for reviewing this film, but there is a lot of history there that we may misgauge or not understand.
And I think I'm very mindful of the fact that we're four British people speaking about something that is really that the British did.
When you say we are the number 4 British people.
Oh my
What,
god.
the fourth best British people?
No, I just want to make it very clear we are 4 British people.
Oh, yeah.
We are
We're
numerically
Yeah.
a quartet of British people.
Yeah. There's 4 of us sat round discussing it.
Yeah.
We are not on the side of the British in this circumstance.
That is literally
God.
the
At all.
opposite of what I was trying to get
I think it's fair
across.
to say we are reviewing a film, a 2021 film, rather than any historic event.
Yeah, and it's,
Yes.
we've all kind of said how difficult it is because we are British people and we have watched this film coming from that kind of angle, and then being totally like appalled and embarrassed and shocked at things that actually really aren't taught that much in British schools.
Yeah, at all.
At all,
Really?
yeah.
No.
So I think it's quite a difficult film for us to review because of that, because it's such a horrendous historical thing that our nation was part of.
But a very important awareness that every British person should have for the history of the country.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
really.
And this one was a lot more serious than RRR, which was like super theatrical and fun in a way. Even
still
though-
about the British Raj,
Yeah.
but not...
So, I don't know, this one feels like there's some serious discussion to be had here, and there's less distraction of dance numbers and, I don't know, jungle animals. I could have done with some jungle animals in
I would
this.
have loved
That would have been amazing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just 4 regular British people.
Yeah.
And we know that even when it happened, well, this is what I'm gauging from it, is that it wasn't the regular British people, it wasn't the elite, wasn't it? It was the politicians and the people in power.
Yeah.
And I guess everyone knows that's the case. And
Yeah, no one back at home even knew what was going on.
Yeah,
I think,
exactly.
which is the awful part of it.
Yeah.
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 Let's go back to the film. So what's everyone's overall thoughts on the film?
I think my first thought was that obviously this is an incredibly hard watch, but actually I feel like I am pleased that I have watched it. I feel that I now am understanding even a small fraction of some of the horrible atrocities committed in India on behalf of the British, which is absolutely awful, where I didn't have any of that knowledge before. So I'm really, really am grateful for the recommendation. I'm glad to have watched it. Obviously, it was a hard watch, but I am kind of glad to have gone through that, I think.
And it definitely felt like when we started watching and went, wow, this is, we've just done, Green Lantern and Damsel and some quite just light films.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it definitely felt like a weighty film when we started watching. And it's fair to say we had a bit of a conversation, didn't we, of can we do this justice? Should we be doing this? Is it for us to speak about that? And actually it felt like it would be entirely wrong to not do that. As soon as we started watching it, if we'd have turned it off, and it would have been a willful looking away to the things that had happened.
Yeah.
Or if we hadn't reviewed it, exactly the same.
Yeah. Same here. I really, really don't like watching movies where, I don't know, that make you feel so bad. Schindler's List, I just can't, I don't want to watch any movie like that. I don't like horror films.
So much suffering.
Yeah, and I'm just I wouldn't ordinarily choose to watch a movie that makes me feel this way, but same for you, Dan. I feel so glad that I did.
Yeah.
And it did leave me, I couldn't stop thinking about it all that night, and it really resonated and hit home, I think.
First thoughts, Sam?
I thought it was a really powerful, intense film, but it was, glad I watched it. We'll not be watching it again, I imagine, but very, definitely a story that people should know about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, probably quite hard for us to talk about on this podcast because generally we're just idiots. When we talk about stuff, we do tend to come at it from a really jokey angle and things, and so I think we're all probably very conscious of that. And
we have reviewed films which are very dull and boring, like The Killer, for example.
Oh my
One of
God.
the worst films ever made. But that was just, we could still have fun reviewing it because it was just so shockingly dull and atrocious.
Yeah.
Whereas this film, we actually really liked the film. It was just about a very severe and intense topic.
Have we reviewed a movie that's based on a true story yet, though, so far?
Oh, good
that is a good question.
Because that's another thing for me, is that these are real people and it happened to everybody's lives, people's descendants. They're grandparents, great-grandparents, people's families.
Yeah.
So
Green Lantern wasn't real, was it?
And Cats.
Yeah.
Was Cats
No,
Oh
Cats
my
was
God.
real.
based on a
That
true
was
story?
the other one that we've done.
Yeah, I don't think we have any real-life-based ones.
No, that's a really good point.
Well, RRR has real characters in a fictional
Yeah.
interaction.
And also elements of the real world. Doesn't
Yeah.
Okay, so a little run through of the casting characters then. So the bulk of the film kind of followed the story of Udham Singh. We haven't really spoken about actually how the film went back and forth, which made it just a really interesting.
Yeah, I could have easily... Well, I suppose because the main action, which should be 80% for a film, was the first important point of the story, wasn't it? So from a film point of view, that made complete sense.
Yeah.
But in terms of, hang on, where are we now? What are we doing? I know there were dates put on and so kind of that, but I think that's the only reason in my mind why it wasn't just chronologically told, just to pace the film out better. So the third act had that massacre in it.
Yeah.
But from a storytelling point of view, it'd make it more confusing than it needed to be.
Yeah.
But I think that I did like that added to the story, because it was why is he doing this? What's his motivations? We know terrible things are happening, but what's he been through? That's what we kept saying, wasn't it? What has he actually been through then to make him...
And it really built up, didn't it? Because it wasn't just I know just shooting someone, I don't mean that, but he didn't just shoot him.
Yeah.
It was a lot of times, and he wanted to have got other people as part of that.
Yeah.
He clearly wasn't a cold-blooded killer. He just felt so strongly that was a thing that he needed to do. And then when he wasn't eating and some of the other torture that he went through, I felt like that was a really useful device to kind of then build up to, like you say. this has to be something huge.
Yeah.
And then when it showed the massacre, it was so much worse than even you could think of. Having seen what he was prepared to endure because of it.
Yeah. And his role in that as well. Like, I knew something terrible was going to happen. I didn't know how he would be involved.
Yeah.
And obviously he was there for the aftermath. And I think he said, like, I came late. I came way too late.
Yeah.
So that was not what I was expecting. And it did make for a better movie that came after, I think.
And then such an amount of like survivor guilt.
My God. Yeah.
And literally just because he slept in. That was what he said.
Yeah. And he said, I'm having a day off today, didn't he? To his
Yeah.
girlfriend. And that was the day.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so sad.
Great.
Dan, you slept in this week.
I did sleep in this week, yeah.
But it was fine.
That was
Yeah,
okay.
I was just late for work, so it was okay. The main guy was excellent, I thought.
Yeah.
He's really good, yeah.
Yeah. Especially in that last, like, third of the film. Like, he really, I don't know, it was just such a gripping and intense period, and he really did it justice, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
absolutely. It must have been such physically hard work as well.
Yeah.
You think when he was pushing the carts with all those
Yeah.
people on them
Yeah.
over and over again,
Yeah.
he did it really well.
Mm.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to find the guy who was the police officer.
Oh,
Who's
Ron
the-
Swain.
Stephen Hogan, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Played Detective Inspector Swain. And again, I thought that at the beginning you were like, oh, he's just like a standard terrible person who's part of this. And then he kind of had the same path along the story as we did, didn't he? Where
Yeah,
he was
yeah.
like, oh, I get it. And this is really terrible. And like at the end, really saw him as a person who deserved to be able to tell his own story.
Mm.
Well, I thought that he was a really good actor.
Yeah.
Mm.
And then the other one was it Reginald Dyer?
O'Dwyer.
Well, the thing is, there were two, weren't there? There was an O'Dwyer and a
Yeah, it's
Dyer.
really, like, I know, obviously it's based on real people, but really unhelpful.
Yeah.
Yeah. And actually, I read that Udham Singh in his diary had put that he was going to kill the one that he didn't kill,
Oh, I see.
if that makes sense.
Oh, really?
But they both sort of...
So he
obviously
wanted to
had
kill the
such
person
a-
that was in India at the time,
Yeah.
giving the actual orders rather than the...
Yeah.
O'Dwyer.
Yeah, but they were both cocks. Like, by
Yeah,
the end of
exactly.
it, you were... Obviously, there's a lot there in terms of, like, I don't know, it's like... It's military, isn't it? Like, they've got their goals and aims and their long-term plans, whatever. So, but in... like, when it came to it, these people were just making such awful decisions
Yeah.
for very little reason. I didn't understand even trying to put yourselves from in that point of view to see if you can see what was happening.
Yeah.
Just seemed like sadistic twats, basically.
Well, and I guess the fundamental thing is like not seeing people as people. It's like a real just othering.
Which I think is probably part of how a lot of military decisions have to be made. If you see the face behind every single person, like every name and stuff, you couldn't do anything, could you?
Yeah, but you can sort of justify that if it's, I don't know, two sides that are equally justified in their need to protect their people or to protect their country or whatever it is. But that's not really what was happening, was it?
No.
So that still doesn't even make sense.
And I guess the thing is, because they're, like you say, Luce, the like ultimate aim wasn't, I don't know, justice or like safety for their people. It was literally just hold on to an asset
Yeah.
that was working for them at that point and was making the money.
Yeah.
And that was, they felt that that was a reasonable response
Yeah.
because they weren't seeing the people of India as people,
Yeah.
which is just so horrendous.
There was a line in the film where I can't remember who it was, but obviously it was one of the English people that said, it's not only Africa that is the white man's burden.
Yeah, that's O'Dwyer.
And it was, it was him, was it?
Like one of the worst lines ever.
Yeah,
said.
and that just really sums up like their view of like what they were doing at that time and how they and why they were treating the people of India in that way, which is just disgusting.
And it's hard for us to think now, like, people actually held those views
Yeah.
that
Scary.
they were, you know, the white people were better.
Yeah.
That's just, it's so far removed from what we know now.
Well, yeah, and they in that conversation, weren't they saying stuff like, they'll return to savagery, or like something like this is just being fed to like the general population of England or wherever. Like, what sort of warped? These were the people in power. Yeah. It's just crazy that was happening.
And it's so, I know that, like, we probably don't want to get into it too much as part of just this podcast, but I just feel really strongly that stuff that's happening now, just that there's like often is a real message of othering, isn't there? Like with people on benefits in the UK, or people who are immigrants, or any of those messages, that's not something that's just gone away.
Yeah, you watch this film thinking this is lost to time, but it is not.
Yeah. Really quick on the cast of characters. Mm-hmm. So the O'Dwyer.
Oh yeah.
Did anyone recognise him?
I did not recognise him.
I did not.
He was Chris Deacon, DCI Chris Deacon from The Bill.
No way.
Yep.
Really?
No way.
We haven't, us three haven't watched The Bill in a while.
Or ever.
He looks so different now.
He does look
Actually.
very different.
What, as a kid?
Yeah, I watched The Bill as a kid.
I used to love it when I was a
Did
kid.
you?
Yeah.
Remember Christy? You would definitely
Maybe by face, but
recognise his face. But he looked entirely different. Yeah, that's it.
But yeah, all the acting was like really good. Yeah, really good cast.
Yeah. All portrayed like so well.
Yeah.
Bearing in mind how difficult that was as a film to do.
Yeah.
I like the girlfriend. She was really cool. Like, I
Was
think
she, though? She was a bit meh.
No, I liked her. She was sweet.
She didn't really do anything, though.
Okay.
It's fair
Well,
that there wasn't like lots of strong women characters
No.
in this film.
But you really liked her in the scene she was in. I think more so that when she died in the massacre, that you just like, oh.
Oh, wait, you're on about his girlfriend in India?
Oh, the Indian girlfriend.
Oh, I thought you meant the,
Oh,
like,
no, the
British
girlfriend.
woman.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
she
didn't
was
count as a
rubbish.
girlfriend. She was lame.
Oh, yeah, I love the woman from India. I
Yeah,
felt
she's
terrible
great.
for her. And she was like,
Yeah.
okay, see you later then.
No,
And then-
the British girlfriend.
Oh.
Nah.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. I don't really know why she was in it.
No.
No, that's what I was about to say. Like, she's just, it's like they threw her in there for, like, some sort
Unless
of
there was a historic
story.
element to
really?
like represent somebody who was there, or just to show that ray of light that not all British people are like pricks.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. Maybe. Okay, so let's move on to like what we felt was our most notable scenes in the film then. Who would like to go first?
One does stand out.
Yeah, it's got to be that one, isn't it?
You mean the actual like last section of the film which depicts I mean that obviously was very harrowing to say the least.
So like brilliantly filmed, like and like it didn't, because part of you watching it thinking, okay, like this is going on a lot now. We get like what's happening here, but like fair play to all the filmmakers because it was such a tragic and atrocious event that I think it had to be that long to really lay down the message.
Yeah.
And it did that like really well.
Yeah, I think it had to be that because you read, like it's so easy to just read however many people were massacred and just be like, oh God, that must have been bad. Yeah. But when you think, you had to see all of it. You had to see the kids and the old people and the mums and
the sheer disregard for life and like lack of hope that
the
was
people
there.
throwing themselves onto like kids to protect them and stuff.
Just horrendous.
Yeah.
Oh, just really harrowing scene, but important, I think.
Do we think a bullet can really chop off a hand? I have no idea, but I was quite surprised and impressed by that. Not impressed. Impressed is the wrong word. You know what I mean? Like, because it did. Like,
wanted to try that.
yeah, but I didn't never cross my mind, obviously, because why would it? But it's really interesting to see.
I went to see if you know, please comment.
Oh, God, no.
I guess it
please
must be
don't
accurate.
comment.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Don't know.
Awful.
I think the other thing when I was speaking about this afterwards was obviously Winston Churchill did like horrendous things in India and like sanctioned horrendous things in India. But even Winston Churchill thought this was absolutely terrible. And I'm like he said that this massacre was awful. I'm like, you did some of the worst things and even you think this is terrible.
Cool.
Oh, that's bad, isn't it?
Yep.
I think the torture scenes as well were really like
they're really
the force feeding.
that was so
Yeah, because it's easy to think, oh, you know, the British, they did this thing and this was awful and lots of other things, but it was just the treatment all across the board of people.
Yeah.
And that's something that, like a bit before this, but they were doing with suffragettes, like force feeding was a thing that lots of people have done to lots of people.
Yeah.
Oh God, it's just horrendous.
Yeah.
I said to you, didn't I, that the main characters in this movie, they just need their mums. You need a mum to go in and be like, if you just both be kind to each other, then everyone's happy. Don't worry about it. Like these power hungry assholes, you want to say like, what would your mums be proud? What would your mum say? Yeah. Because no one's listening to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I imagine mums back in that time were probably holding different values though.
What do you mean?
Well, they bred these monsters.
Maybe, but still, I don't know if their mums would. I 100% agree.
But you think like O'Dwyer, Dyer, they probably had wives who were raising children, kind of advocating their husband's actions at that time.
I don't know.
It's such a weird thing, isn't it? Because it comes into those two questions of like, one, if the world was run by women, would everything be different?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say.
And two, yeah, that probably was the case. Like there was that thing, was I telling you the other day, Luce, about the little girl who grew up at Auschwitz and her dad was one of the big bosses at Auschwitz, and she was like, we had a great time, we had a swimming pool, and we didn't understand anything that had happened, and they were in a compound in Auschwitz, and so were like safely ensconced away from everything. And she was like, he was the best possible dad, he was amazing, he was like played with us all the time and was incredible. And the interviewer was like, but he did these things, you have to admit that he did do these things. And she was like, well, I don't like to see him like that. Yeah, just that people somehow are able to separate those things so easily.
Yeah.
From like, I love my kids and I want the best possible thing for them. Somehow I can go out to work and do this horrendous.
Yeah, and that's probably happening all the time, to be fair. In every area of everybody's lives, you probably try to protect yourself from the bad bits, or you don't want to think that your kids or your parents or anyone has made those decisions that led to these terrible things. As long as there's loads of good stuff happening too, it's easier to do, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, any other notable scenes anyone wanted to talk about?
I enjoyed the police inspector's final discussion. That was really nice. Like when we said before.
Oh, when he's in prison?
Yeah, it was really nice. Like, I know it's kind of annoying because it's just like one British person who's nice in the end, but it was just that whole, even when you are trained and like raised in this viewpoint, you can still see a good man as a good man.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, it's the start of the hope of the world getting better, isn't it?
Yeah.
That people so in the system can see rationale.
Yeah.
Okay, so should we move on to things that may well have been done better or could have been done better?
No.
The only things I had were...
Only 10 things I have.
No, there were 2 points when we were watching the film where I said to Luce, this feels like watching a TV show. Like, I think it was just, I don't know, the quality or something about it. Maybe it just really reminded me of the Peaky Blinder era, and it seemed to be the same quality of production at some points. More like the first hour, I think.
Okay.
But it just could have been a bigger...
That was quite slow as well, wasn't it, that first hour?
Yeah, it could have shaved off a bit of time. Probably all important really for the story, but yeah. And I suppose this was produced, and this was made by Amazon Prime, wasn't it? So I guess this wasn't a cinema release. So that's probably, this was a made for streaming film rather than a made for cinema film.
Yeah,
so it probably just reflects that.
Yeah.
On to the scores.
Let's go for scores. So I think it's fair to say that our quite niche scoring system is not going to do complete justice to how powerful and impactful we see this film as, but we have to use the same 3 categories as we always do. So let's kick off with enjoyability. Luce.
A 2, please, Sam.
Abby.
2, please, Sam.
Dan.
Also a 2.
Ooh. And it's a 2 from me. So a total of 8 for enjoyability.
But I would just like to say that does not reflect my overall feelings of the film. I know you literally just said that, but I feel bad giving it a 2.
I haven't finished the scoring either.
No, I know, but just before we move on, enjoyability, like,
Yeah.
I don't want anyone to think I didn't like it, because I did. It was just a really hard watch.
I don't think anyone enjoys a film like this.
Exactly.
Like you...
It's a red flag.
Yeah, if you're enjoying it, like, there's probably something wrong with you, but it is...
Appreciate it, absolutely.
Yeah,
If it was appreciate,
Yeah.
that would be like a 4.5.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
Okay. Appreciatability.
Let's see if the other scores help. Shareability. Abby.
3.5.
Loose.
3.
Dan.
4.
I went for 2.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I just have shared this with a fair few people already.
Please.
It's basically the same story, or like the same thing that we've just said about. It's not maybe an enjoyable film to watch, but it is a really important and powerful film to watch.
Yeah. I will share it with some people, but just not everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just feel like for me it's just something that British people should know about, and this is a good film to get even just an introduction of like what that was and what people went through. I think
There's a really strong emotional response to this.
Yeah.
Not.
Cool. So, lastly, masterpiece ability. I went for a 4. Ab, what do you go for?
4.
Dan?
4.
Loose.
5.
So that gives Sardar Udham a total of 37.5 out of
nice.
60.
Cool.
And I think it's fair to say that that is one of our highest masterpiece.
Yeah, it's got to be, isn't it?
It's up there with kind of RRR.
So like a top 5 of our masterpieces?
Yeah.
Which feels right.
Yeah, I always go on about how, like, a film, if it leaves you thinking something, and this definitely did.
Yeah.
Probably out of
literally days.
Yeah.
Oh,
Probably
yeah.
more than any film we've watched. It was definitely a massive takeaway.
Yeah. And I've spoken to a lot of people about it already.
Have you?
Yeah.
Thank you for coming along to this week's Lads Film Club. Thanks for the recommendations, and thanks for joining us while we discussed Sadar Udham.
We'd love to know what you thought about it as well.
Let us know how moved you were on our Twitter, Insta, or Facebook.
And if you enjoyed listening to our podcast, please leave us a 5-star rating and review.
So grab your popcorn.
Round up your lads.
Get watching.
And join us next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Abby shut the bed. Thoroughly.
No salvation.